As Americans, we buy 60% more clothing than we did just 15 years ago, meaning we own more than we wear. But the process of getting rid of your clothes is daunting, as our founder Brooke discovered. She spent a lot of time trying to sell her own clothes on Instagram, receiving little money in return from a reseller, felt discouraged from all that rejection, and ultimately donated her clothes. We hypothesized that Brooke wasn't the only one that experienced this problem and validated this with over 60 interviews. Over 95% of those we interviewed had clothing they didn't wear anymore, and over half were frustrated with the existing options to get rid of their clothes. In these interviews, we pinpointed time, convenience, and money as their top pains. To eliminate frustration in the clothing disposal, Brooke created Thrift 251, a second-hand clothing store on college campuses for students to buy and sell their used clothes. Since this is an on-campus thrift store, the customer segment that we are targeting is college students. In the college student demographic, we are specifically targeting fashion-minded individuals who want to get rid of their used clothing and are at least casual thrift store shoppers. Our original hypothesis that college students would shop at an on-campus thrift store was validated through a survey of 30 people, interviews with 60 people, and people who currently shop and sell at Thrift 251. One of our key insights is that many men either don't have clothes to donate or are not very interested in spending time shopping for clothing, so the majority of the traffic is female. Thrift 251's unique value proposition is sustaining your wardrobe, wallet, and world. We do that first by providing an easy, rejection-free clothing drop-off process. Sellers can drop off their clothing or have it picked up without the fear of any clothes being given back. The model is unique because sellers receive 40% of the revenue when their clothing sells, which is significantly higher than other competitors. Any clothing that doesn't sell can either be given back to the seller or donated. Sellers also have the option to donate their proceeds to a cause of their choice. Thrift 251 has a huge focus on sustainability, meaning that any clothing that doesn't get resold will either be upcycled or recycled through partnerships with makers and artisans. Every process is designed to reduce waste and keep clothing out of landfills. At Thrift 251, we take responsibility for the way we consume clothing by reimagining the clothing recycle and resale process. Thrift 251 started in Brooke's townhouse. She advertised clothing on Instagram and invited people who were interested to stop by her townhouse during open hours. To save time, Brooke made a pivot and held a pop-up sale this past spring. It was so successful that Thrift 251 adopted on-campus pop-ups as the main selling channel. Brooke then created a website as an MVP to make the process even faster. Through the website, customers can make clothing drop-off and pickup appointments, browse a selection of clothing, and make purchases. After our initial research from the interviews, we discovered that a website would be a great addition to complement our Instagram presence. Since Thrift 251 is on our university campus, Brooke has developed relationships with many students who, through word of mouth, spread the word. Buyers trust Brooke's sense of style and continue to shop because of her ability to assist buyers with their unique fashion inquiries. On the other hand, sellers want a simplified process to sell their clothes. Thrift 251 minimizes the time the sellers spend in dealing with their clothes. Our hypothesis that college students would rather receive less money and do less work to sell their clothing was proven valid by the survey and interview information we collected. Thrift 251 receives revenue from its in-person pop-up events and online sales via the website and Instagram. We are also currently exploring how we can create partnerships with sustainable brands and makers that will buy our unsold inventory from us to create more revenue streams. Since Thrift 251 has been in operation at John Brown University for the past 15 months, we have real numbers and sales to validate this idea. To date, we have 70 sellers and over 2,200 items. We've sold over a third of our inventory compared to the industry standard of 10 to 20%. In the first year, we've grown by 51% and are looking at an 86% growth rate for this year. We have saved approximately 450,000 gallons of water from Thrift 251. Focusing now on the left side of the business model canvas, we can take a look into key resources. First, we have students and the clothing they bring to Thrift 251. If we didn't have those two, we wouldn't be able to have the business. As we worked through this part, we pointed out our founder, Brooke, and her love and knowledge for fashion, art, entrepreneurship, and sustainability that impacts greatly the environment and execution of the business. In addition to this, the university is also a good resource we use for events and information. At Thrift 251, you can see many activities happening, including gathering unused clothing, managing drop off and pickups, sorting, pricing, tagging, advertising, selling, and website maintenance. We keep up with our clothing sales through online and pop up events, and at the end of each month, the customer is paid 40% profit of the sold clothes. We also work through the entire process of clothing disposal. Through the 15 months of Thrift 251, we have partnered with the JBU College of Business. This is where we currently store the clothes and where we have pop up events. Additionally, we partner with the student photographers and student models for our clothing photo shoots. Lastly, we partner with artisans who upcycle and recycle clothing from Thrift 251. Currently, we split the revenue of the sale with a clothing owner, paying them 50%. In our interviews, we learned that users value time saved over monetary return and were more than willing to receive 40% instead of 50%. Thus, Thrift 251 will change to a 40-60 revenue split. Additionally, Thrift 251 has fixed costs of rent and other variable costs such as labor, tagging, selling, and organizational supplies. Join us as we set out to sustain your wardrobe, your wallet, and our world.